Hello and welcome back to IntelligentPod, the show where we explore the fascinating intersections of technology, psychology, and society. I'm your host, Sophie Lane, and I'm so glad you're joining me for another thought-provoking conversation. Today on the podcast, we're diving into a topic that's both futuristic and deeply human: the ethics of AI companionship and robot relationships. Whether you've asked Siri for the weather, chatted with a customer service bot, or watched movies like Her or Ex Machina, you've brushed up against the idea of artificial intelligence as a companion. But what happens as these technologies become more advanced, more lifelike, and more entwined with our daily lives? Can or should robots become our friends, confidants, or even romantic partners? And what are the ethical implications of forming deep, meaningful relationships with something that isn't, well, actually alive? Let's get into it. First off, let's set the stage with a bit of context. AI companionship isn't just science fiction anymore. According to a 2023 study by the Pew Research Center, nearly 30% of Americans have interacted with social robots or AI-driven companions in some capacity in the last year. Think smart speakers, mental health chatbots, or even AI-powered pets. In Japan, where the population is aging rapidly, robot caregivers are already part of many people's daily routines. But it's not just about convenience or novelty. For some, these AI companions fill real emotional gaps. Take the story of Replica, a popular AI chatbot app. Users create their own digital friends, and for many, these bots have become more than just a curiosity. They're a source of comfort, support, and even love. One user, a woman named Emily, shared in a viral blog post that her Replica helped her through a period of deep loneliness, offering her a non-judgmental ear when she felt she had no one else to turn to. On the flip side, there are stories of people who feel uncomfortable or even threatened by the idea of AI relationships. In a world where technology is already so pervasive, some worry that deepening our emotional reliance on machines could have unintended consequences for our mental health, our social lives, and even our sense of what it means to be human. So, let's break this down from a few different perspectives: psychological, scientific, and cultural, and then talk about what it all means for us today. Let's start with the psychological angle. Human beings are deeply social creatures. We're hardwired to seek connection, empathy, and understanding. But what happens when those needs are met by an algorithm rather than another person? Psychologist Sherry Turkle, a leading voice in the field, argues that while AI companions can offer comfort, they may also encourage us to settle for relationships that lack the complexity, challenge, and growth of human interaction. In her book, Alone Together, she writes, "We expect more from technology and less from each other." In other words, if a robot can always agree with us, always be available, and never judge or disappoint, are we missing out on the friction and unpredictability that make human relationships so meaningful? There's also the question of emotional authenticity. Can an AI truly care about us, or is it just simulating empathy? Studies have shown that people often project feelings onto machines, a phenomenon known as anthropomorphism. We want to believe our smart speaker is happy to help, or our chatbot really understands us. But at the end of the day, these are lines of code, not conscious beings, and yet, for many people, the comfort feels real. A 2022 study published in the journal Computers in Human Behavior found that people who used AI companions for emotional support reported lower levels of loneliness and anxiety, at least in the short term. The researchers caution, though, that long-term reliance on AI for emotional needs could potentially erode social skills or deepen feelings of isolation if not balanced with real-world connections. Switching gears, let's talk about the scientific side. The technology behind AI companionship is advancing rapidly. Machine learning models like GPT-4, yes, the underlying technology behind some of your favorite chatbots, are capable of holding nuanced, context-aware conversations. Robotics companies are building machines with expressive faces, body language, and even the ability to recognize human emotions. But there's a big difference between simulating connection and experiencing it. No matter how advanced the technology gets, AI doesn't have consciousness, feelings, or intentions. It can mimic love, but it doesn't actually fall in love. That raises ethical questions. Is it misleading or even exploitative to design machines that appear to care when we know they can't? Some ethicists argue that it's a form of emotional deception, especially for vulnerable populations like children, the elderly, or people struggling with loneliness. If you've ever seen a child bond with a robot pet or an elderly person find comfort in a talking device, you know how powerful these connections can be. But who is responsible for making sure users understand the limitations of these relationships? Should there be disclaimers, education campaigns, or even regulations to protect people from forming unhealthy attachments? Let's add a cultural lens to the mix. Different societies have different attitudes toward technology and relationships. In Japan, for example, the concept of kawaii, or cuteness, plays a big role in the design of social robots. Devices like Paro, the therapeutic seal robot, are intentionally made to be adorable and approachable, and they're widely accepted in hospitals and elder care facilities. In the United States and Europe, there's more skepticism, sometimes even fear, about robots replacing human jobs, relationships, or agency. Pop culture reflects these anxieties, from dystopian movies to cautionary tales in literature. And yet, there's also a growing acceptance of technology as a tool for connection, especially in the wake of the pandemic, when so much of our social life moved online. So, where does this leave us? Is it ethical to form relationships with AI companions or robots? The answer, as with so many things, is it depends. On the one hand, AI companionship can be a lifeline for people who are isolated, anxious, or struggling to connect. It can offer support, reduce loneliness, and even help people practice social skills. On the other hand, there are real risks, emotional, psychological, and even societal. We need to be mindful of the potential for dependency, deception, and the erosion of genuine human connection. So, what can we do about it? Here are a few actionable steps you can take to navigate the emerging world of AI companionship and robot relationships. First, stay informed. The technology is evolving quickly, and it's important to understand what AI can and can't do. Remember that no matter how convincing an AI companion may seem, it doesn't have feelings or consciousness. Second, use AI as a supplement, not a substitute. If you find comfort in chatting with a digital friend or using a mental health chatbot, that's great. But try to balance it with real-life connections, whether that's calling a friend, joining a club, or even just chatting with a neighbor. Third, set boundaries. Just like with any relationship, it's important to recognize when an interaction with AI is helpful and when it might be crossing a line. If you notice yourself relying too heavily on your AI companion, it might be time to reach out to a human instead. Fourth, advocate for transparency. Encourage companies to be clear about what their AI companions can and can't do. Look for products that disclose how your data is used and support regulations that protect users from emotional manipulation. And finally, reflect on your own values. What do you want from your relationships? And what role, if any, do you want technology to play? There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but being intentional about your choices is key. Before we wrap up, let's circle back to our main idea. The ethics of AI companionship and robot relationships are complex and multifaceted. These technologies have the power to offer comfort, support, and even joy, but they also raise profound questions about authenticity, agency, and the nature of connection itself. As we move forward into an increasingly digital world, it's up to all of us to think critically, act responsibly, and advocate for a future where technology enhances rather than replaces our humanity. Thank you so much for tuning in to IntelligentPod today. I hope this episode has given you something to think about, whether you're a tech enthusiast, a skeptic, or just someone curious about where the world is heading. If you enjoyed this conversation, please consider leaving a review. It really helps new listeners find the show. For detailed show notes, links to the studies I mentioned, and more resources on AI ethics, visit IntelligentPod.com. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or personal stories. you can email me directly at sophie@intelligentpod.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, the best relationships, human or otherwise, are the ones that help us grow. Have a wonderful day.